Hi, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Meet the Grad Alumni and Industry Panel for the Marshall School of Skilled Trades and Apprenticeship. My name is Angelo Costco, and I am the Associate Dean for the Building and Construction Systems at Mohawk College. It is my pleasure to be your host and moderator for today's panel. Thank you to the Mohawk students and recent graduates joining us virtually today. We hope you enjoy hearing about the career journeys of our panelists and their thoughts on how job seekers could engage in the current market. Before we begin our discussion, I'd like to introduce our four industry professional panelists. We have John Ambrosio. So John is a graduate of the Residential Design and Construction Certificate Program at Mohawk College. In 2015, after working in the corporate world for 12 years, he founded the Ambrosio Construction and Renovation based here in Hamilton. So thank you for joining us, John. Next,
glad to be here.
Excellent. Next, we have Dave Cameron. Dave is a learning and development team leader at ArcelorMittal Dofasco, a future-ready premium employer partner here at Mohawk College. At the start of his career, he completed a welding apprenticeship at Dofasco and now leads all aspects of apprenticeship programs at the company. So welcome, Dave. Next, we have Daniel Guest. Daniel is a graduate of the Plumber Apprenticeship Program at Mohawk College. He is the president of Guest Plumbing and Heating, serving both commercial and residential clients throughout the greater Hamilton area. Welcome, Dan. And we have Luke Seguin. So Luke is a graduate of both the Construction Engineering Technician Building Renovation Program and Civil Engineering Technician Program at Mohawk College. He is now project manager at GenPro, a general contractor operating out of Burlington that works with ICI sector with a focus on institutional projects. Luke oversees projects from start to finish and assists in hiring of co-op students and new graduates. So welcome, Luke.
Yeah.
All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to start off by asking a few of our discussion questions. So what I'd like to do is we'll start off with you, John. So basically what I'd like to ask is, what has your career path been after graduating? Can you walk us through it?
I guess I'll start with my first career path, which was kind of in the business world. Went to school, got a business degree in Toronto. As you mentioned, worked in the corporate world for some time. Want to kind of do a little change. So I went to the Mohawk program, finished that construction program there. With kids at home, the night program was the one that best suited me. And it was definitely a great program and great instructors. So career path was from Mohawk. Once I graduated there, I was able to start up Ambrosio Construction and Renovations in 2015. Haven't looked back, and it's been a great successful run. Met a lot of great clients, a lot of great trades, a lot of great vendors, and like I said, haven't looked back.
So in 12 years, so what took you so long?
You know, it was in my 20s. The taking clients out for dinners, taking clients out golfing was intriguing at that time. As you kind of get into your 30s, settle down with a family, it's puts a different perspective on things, and that wasn't as important anymore as it was back, you know, I guess when you were single. So that was kind of the change for me. And you know, after about 12 years, it was time for something different. And you know, because trades was always my thing. I've always been in renovations, whether it's been just buying homes to, I guess, to flip, and kind of just for myself. So I've always had my hands in renovations in some way or another. So you know, matching up the business degree to the skill set that I really enjoyed doing, that was the perfect fit of starting this company.
Excellent. Absolutely. I definitely agree when you've got that passion. Well, thank you for sharing. Excellent.
Thanks.
How about you, Dave? Tell us about your career path. Dave, do we still have you on?
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
So
Excellent.
I graduated in the late 70s, so things were a little different back then. There was a lot of the high schools had a very good technical program. You could spend a lot of time down in the tech wing, whether it was in automotive, in the weld shop, some drafting, woodworking. I mean, we tried to keep ourselves as busy down in that end of the wing as much as possible all through high school. So when you come out of high school at that point, you really know that you're looking for something along the trade line of work. And with a lot of different experiences there, you kind of had a lot to choose from. So I went walking up and down in Burlington Street and seeing which of the big companies were out there that were giving away apprenticeships. And the first one I went to was one of the steel companies. And I managed to get a job there. And unfortunately, it wasn't going to offer me the apprenticeship right away. However, it's always good to get that job that pays half decent money to get you going. I did keep my application going at ArcelorMittal Dofasco, which only had the one name at that time. But by the time you get used to saying ArcelorMittal Dofasco, you just can't help saying it every time, right? I was quite lucky that I was still able to keep my interviews going with Dofasco, and there's purely was a chance at getting an apprenticeship. So I managed to get in there a few months later, started my welding apprenticeship, and it was a 3-year journey at that time. So over the next few years, it was all about learning as much as I can about that trade and becoming very proficient at all aspects. Beyond that, once you're the tradesperson and you've got the certification, now you're just doing bigger and better jobs. And I worked, probably the next 4 years. Then I got an opportunity to go into the training department and actually start teaching some of the welding to the other trades. And it became the trades training portion that was required for each of the trades in order to get their CFQs. So that was quite interesting. That was the beginning of my training journey. And so here I am, 43 years later almost, looking after the apprenticeship program and all aspects of that. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. And I really appreciate. I know when we talk back on the old tech wings, and I wish that's something that was still reestablished back in a lot of our high schools these days, which I think seems to be missing quite a bit. So it's definitely see that really importance in that foundation piece. Thanks for sharing, Dave. Greatly appreciate it. So next up, we've got Daniel. Daniel, how about you sharing with us how you've got to where you are now, and walk us through your path.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a great journey. I did an OEAP program in high school. It got me into kind of finding out about the trades, coming from a university background of family. Got started. I worked for about a year and a half before I was actually signed up as an apprentice, and then just went through the apprenticeship program. Was able to fast track quite a bit. Got granted my hours. So if you're starting an apprenticeship, you want to make sure that you're going to get someone that's willing to sign you up. It took me about a year and a half, so that was a little bit of a challenge. But once I kind of got over the hurdle, it was very worth it. The Mohawk College program for apprenticeships was great. A lot of knowledge, but it was nice because you got that break in between to actually learn some of the hard skills. Being on site and understanding what the job was for, as well as just site conditions and what to expect. Once I graduated, it was fantastic. You get your red seal. You can pretty much go anywhere and do whatever you want throughout the industry. I find, once you get your license is when you really start learning. You got the common sense and the knowledge to kind of take it where you need to go. And then, just after about 2 years, you get your master's license for plumbing. And decided to I had a great opportunity to open my own business, and it's been quite the journey. We're up to about 30 staff now, and opening up different divisions, and it's been great. And Mohawk College has been a great tool for us to also pull from. I understand the education piece of it, and being able to pull from new grads from there and hire them, and then also support our apprentices through their programs. Been a lot of fun. It's a great resource place as well. So it doesn't just feel like you're just going to school. It's a place to learn and grow.
Oh, well, fantastic, Daniel. And again, congratulations on the success from your company, and great to see when we hear these stories when people have come out of our OYAP. And for those that are on our call today. OEF is our Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, where we are able to partner with our high schools and where students are able to go into a /partnership agreement where they're able to do their in-school training as well as receiving experiential learning while they're still in high school. So great success story. Thank you for sharing, Daniel. So next we've got Luke. Luke, walk us through your career path.
Yeah, so graduated building reno in 2012 and then went back for another year and did the civil tech program up at Fennel. Graduated from that and went into land surveying because I kind of thought that was the direction I wanted to go in. So I did that for about a year, kind of got tired of it. So looking for different avenues, put an application into GenPro. That was almost 8 years ago now, and started there as their coordinator, just doing, paperwork, change orders, purchase orders, focusing on the closeout side. And then over the last 8 years have grown from that role to taking on a bit more responsibility along the way. And yeah, now looking after jobs on my own, ranging in any value all across the GTA. And yeah, part of my role is help putting our co-op students into place. Most times we try to keep at least one, if not two, going. And yeah, we're always looking, if we can't keep them on, we're hiring new grads, mainly out of building rental. We've had some luck there over the past couple of years.
Oh, well, fantastic. And also I want to congratulate you as well that you've received your gold seal certificate in project management. Well done, Luke. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so as we look into our second question that we've got for our panel today, what are some of the soft skills in your profession? So again, above and beyond your technical training that has helped you to be successful as you are. So let's start off with Daniel. With Daniel. Let us know, Daniel, what your thoughts are as far as what are the necessary soft skills? What do you think about them, and what do you see them in your profession?
Yeah, where do you start? Where do you stop? Communication is always a key element to success, whether it's with a client or with your boss or with your colleague. We try to teach how to send an email, how to call in sick, how to discuss challenges. When it comes to anything in construction, there's always problem solving involved, and being able to be calm and cool while dealing with a customer that might be a little bit frustrated or overwhelmed, or you get a new staff member that's super excited to get going and just needs to, understand the what you're doing on site, or maybe it's in the office. So yeah, communication is huge for us, whether it's text or verbal. It's a key factor to success.
Well, perfect. No, absolutely. And again, I see that, as a recipient of the Kevin McIntosh Memorial Award for Community Involvement, obviously I see that those soft skills are definitely necessary as you engage and, with our stakeholders and working with our community partners.
For sure. Yeah. On a day-to-day basis, right? You're communicating and you're portraying a lot to do, when you're wearing a logo, you're representing that company or that organization, and always being at the forefront of customer service and value. It's a really good way to showcase what you're made of.
Perfect, Daniel. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Dave? What your thoughts are when it comes to soft skills, in your profession, obviously, and where it's taken you through ArcelorMittal Dofasco?
Well, right off the top, if you're an apprentice and you're just learning, you have to be careful that you don't come in thinking you know everything. If you've taken a 2-year tech program and you've got a lot of good information, it is some great stuff, and you just have to be careful how you introduce it into the conversations, because you may be working with a lot of seasoned veterans who have done things a different way, maybe not as technical in their aspects, but they've been able to get these mills, these operations, these things, they've kept them up to speed for a long time, and they have a lot of good knowledge. And so again, it's just how you bring that information into the conversation. Just be careful with that. So you show respect to your mentors, you listen intently, follow their instructions, you try to be adaptable. Wherever you can, you take notes and make sure that you get that key piece of information that you just learned and trap it there. You continue to explore new avenues for your own development, even taking other night school courses just to progress to that next level. Because there's, in trades, there's always something else to learn. There's always new technologies coming in. It's changing as we speak, 10 times as fast as it used to change. So I have seen a lot of change over the few years that I've been kicking around, and it's gone up immensely.
Oh, for sure, Dave. Absolutely. And again, Dave, as an executive board member of the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, I'm sure that you've also been able to see basically quite a bit of those changes and hear a lot of that as it's been going across the country.
Yeah, it is a little different in each of the areas. They all have their own struggles, but in the end, it's about getting the person started in their apprenticeship, supporting them all through it, giving them all the tools that they need in order to be successful, and letting them get the hours on each of those competencies that's required in that trade book. There's always some areas where it's harder to get because your business may not do as much of that, but it is important to make sure that it does get done properly and signed off properly. And at the end, you don't hold people up from their CFQ. You award them all the hours that they've worked to make sure that they get to the end of that journey as soon as possible. The only thing that should really hold an apprentice back from their completion is the fact that they've got some performance issues, some underlying things or they're just not able to do it well enough, and you don't see that they're theirs, but you need to give them more practice, then give them more support and say, okay, we're going to help you to get to that finish line, not hold you up.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. Excellent. Very insightful, Dave. Thank you. So next we've got Luke. Luke, please tell us what your thoughts are in regards to, again, these interpersonal skills and soft skills that we need in your profession today.
Yeah, I think Daniel and David both touched on two key points of being communication is the foremost, being able to get your thoughts across. And, sometimes you're not always, your manager might not be on site, and you need to be able to explain the situation of what you're looking at back to them. And then to further David's point is to come in and be willing to learn and eager to learn. And yeah, you spent 2-3 years in college, you think you've got the world of knowledge, but the real world's a different place, and you have to be willing to accept that, yeah, you learned it one way, but the real world may go another way. And that guy you're learning with, he might have a piece of information that's going to, open your eyes to a different way. So I think those two are key. And then, yeah, just the ability to think on the fly and learn, and yeah, except that there's different ways of looking at things as well. So yeah, problem solving.
Perfect. No, excellent. And obviously being in, on the ground, working through those construction sites, especially when you're looking at, you are also interacting with many different trade sectors as well, correct?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as a general contractor, you see every range from, civil to painting. So you see every side, and you have to know that you're not going to master every single discipline, and you have to pick up what you can from each guy, because each trade that comes into your site has something new to teach you.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing, Luke. John, what have you got to add in regards to soft skills?
I think the other three got most of my notes there. The one, I guess, communication's the key one. Definitely, I agree with all three panelists there. With regards to communicating with clients, unforeseen things that arise during a renovation, that's absolutely key. As well as communicating with your employees. Nothing, I guess, frustrates an employee more than different messages throughout the day of, especially when you're delegating work or just speaking to your employees, just a consistent message, communicating to them properly where they feel valued and hopefully they are valued. That's key. If I were to add one more soft skill, I think leadership would be the big one. Definitely in general contracting or construction, residential renovations, leadership's a key one. Mainly for I think where we pull it from a lot of is problem solving. You can imagine it's not like a lot of the problems you see on the HGTV shows that arise during a residential renovation. A lot of the older homes, especially in Hamilton, that we open up and start renovating, there's a lot of unforeseen stuff that come up after the demolition phase, or that come up during the process. And me being the point person, I honestly don't have the answer on a lot of it, on how those are going to get repaired or rectified. But the leadership part of it is actually leaning into your trades, utilizing your trades, utilizing your employees, utilizing the experience of that pool of people that have run into that in the past. and that just allows you as a leader to put the proper plan in place to make sure that gets prepared properly. And once you have that plan, back to communicating back to the client so that they have that confidence in you that you're going to be able to address whatever has been uncovered during the renovation process.
Oh, well, perfect. Well, thank you, John. I see from, that you're also part of your strong piece of your foundation and what makes Ambrosio Construction is, as you mentioned, again, is your values and remaining transparent and very honest when you're working with all of your clients. So thank you again for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So as we move on to our next question. So have you pursued additional education and training throughout your career? So let's start with Dave. Dave, how would you like to lead that off?
Because of the direction my career took, starting to do a lot of training within the company, then it seemed that the direction for training was to become part of human resources at the time. So I leaned towards taking some of the programs that were directed, training methodologies. I also went down to a program that was down in the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire campus that was to become a qualified instructor, certified. Coming back from that, then the company actually took an initiative, and we had a very large gap in what they considered our training could have been improved. So as a company, we actually hired someone out of your place back, I think Steve Evans was his name. So that was back in the early 90s. And we ran a ton of people through a 4-week in-depth how to be a good on-the-job trainer. So it taught about how to do your classes from a classroom perspective, how to do it from an OJT perspective out on the job, whether you were training somebody how to use a forklift, how to use a crane, whatever. It talked about all the 7 important steps on how to be a good OJT. And that was very helpful. Even though we had done the Wisconsin program, it was quite thorough on a technical level, but the one from Steve Evans was very directed at the on-the-job portion.
Excellent. Well, it's great to see. I think that we all, it's great to see when we're all in alignment when we talk about, especially like learning for life, right? Lifelong learners as we go forward and continuing that we take that path. And it's great to see that bringing strategies in place that not only support ourselves, but also look to support future skilled trades folks as they continue to go through. So it's great to hear. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for sharing. How about you, Luke? What are your thoughts and sharing as far as additional education?
Yeah, so at GenPro, they give us the option, and they kind of push us towards looking into the Gold Seal certification, which, is what the construction industry is trying to get off the ground, and it has gotten off the ground as the standard for kind of on the office side, whereas the trades have their apprenticeships and their red seals and their steps, but on the general contractor side, there wasn't much. So the Gold Seal was a great opportunity for us. And with my education at Mohawk, it saved me a bit of time because we got some credits for that. But yeah, like there was courses on the law side of construction, which doesn't get touched much in school, and newer technology, safety, ethics, all of those. And yeah, I found it to be a great addition to my education at Mohawk.
Well, fantastic. And it's great to hear that there were opportunities there to leverage from the learning that's taken place here that have supported, but obviously taking on that additional learning. That's great to hear. Well, thank you for sharing that, Luke. Excellent. Yeah. How about you, John?
I think there's always something to learn. I have a strong health and safety background from my previous career before Ambrosio Construction. So I appreciate and value a lot of the health and safety stuff. So there's always the safety related training for your employees as well as myself to take. As what I've found is as my company's evolved and gotten bigger, we're taking on, we're not working at ground level anymore. We're starting to work at heights now. We're not working with simple tools anymore. We're starting to take on machinery. So there's a lot of training involved, obviously, with safe use of those tools, those pieces of machinery. For myself, I'm a strong believer before I have my employees taking any of that training or using those pieces of tools or working at those levels, I should be taking that training as well. It just helps you as a as an owner and as a supervisor, just to understand the hazards and the risks associated with everything. So that's the one thing I found, is just as we've evolved, there's just been more, I guess, different tasks we've been taking on that just have involved ongoing training, and whether that's just a day course, a night course, or a weekend course, they're all different.
All right, well, thank you. And again, yes, and thank you for sharing the value of that. Excellent. Thank you, John. And Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, you're always learning, whether you're learning from, like Luke said, talking about other trades, understanding the construction industry as a whole, especially if you're specialized. Understanding, I've been on sites with John before, understanding the whole construction of the site rather than just, just your one focused area of learning. Right. With our industry, from a business standpoint, whether if you're an apprentice, I went back to school to do a night gas course to get my gas license. You should always be kind of continuing your education. Safety is obviously a huge point. For me as a business owner and kind of like a leader, one of the things I've been doing recently is just reading a lot of books on different leadership styles. It's interesting from like kind of a hard-nosed area when you're looking at trades that are normally, say they talk about blue collar, but when you're leading a team, getting the most out of your team and making sure that you have culture is something that isn't really talked about in school and is very hard to train. But as as someone that's leading a team now, I work on my leadership style a lot, and it's very rewarding and eye-opening when you just hear like, different, ways of learning, different ways of people reacting to things, different ways of problem solving and kind of managing your the stress levels. We call it challenges at Guest Plumbing, not stress. And it's a great, thing for your mental, because you shouldn't be able to, go to work and not have a good home life because of work. So working on that balanced education, which is on site, but I think a lot of it has to do with mental health and management, because the higher up you get when it gets to management, whether it's running a small crew, running yourself, or running a business, it can be very challenging at times if you're not working on that, on yourself.
Well, thank you, Dan. And I like the piece there in regards. I like the challenges. When we talk, instead of like the problems, and because I know that one of my mentors had once mentioned, Angelo, don't panic, adjust. Right. So it was always, well said. Well, thank you very much, Daniel. And that kind of leads us into our next question. So as we, so what do you see as the coming trends in your sector that new graduates should know about? So let's start with Luke. Luke, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I see the current trend coming, and it's a good one, is safety first for everything. GenPro's core certified, so safety's at the top of ours, but I've seen it trickle down from the top end of core and the major ones, and even the sub trades coming on site now are respecting the paperwork process, and it's less so about showing up to site, doing your work and get going. There's now toolbox talks, safety walkthroughs, and making sure you're going to go home at the end of the night. So I see safety coming through as the biggest one, and follow behind that is technology and paperwork and emails. You can't, like I just said, you're not showing up to site, doing your job and leaving. There's now, emails to be sent, pictures to be taken, reports to be written. And, when you have questions on site, there's the proper avenues to ask them through RFIs, change orders, and stuff like that. So yes, it's about doing the work, but it's also now about taking on newer technologies and bettering your communication skills.
Oh, wow. Well, excellent, Luke. And you know what, I like how you led off, with the safety culture piece, right? I think that, and with us here as well at Mohawk College, we've had an amazing partnership with Rob Ellis and My Safe Work. And if those of you who are aware of Rob and what he's really brought forward, and again, is that champions, of the safety culture that's out there, and making us all champions as we go forward, and really stressing that safety piece. So I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that. Excellent.
Yeah, Rob's
John?
doing great work.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Luke. John, what are your thoughts as far as upcoming trends, and what do you kind of see that our new graduates should really know about when they're coming out into your particular work sector?
Definitely the trend that we're in now, that not only it's upcoming, I think we're in it, is just starting to embrace the technology that's out there. Just from a workflow and just becoming more efficient at your daily routine. I think companies and employees that embrace the technology that's out there can really make a difference within just a daily workflow, getting things done much more efficiently, as well as just having a better product to present to prospect clients and your current clients as well. You know, on our end, for myself as an owner, there's a lot of stuff. It's funny, I can just run through my phone, my smartphone. But we've really, in the past year, embraced a lot of technology getting cloud-based. And it was a bit of a hard lesson on my end when we went through the first wave of COVID and the shutdowns happened. You know, you kind of do some reflection and you know, your strengths and weaknesses. And one of the weaknesses was operating the business during that climate, and really meaning, can we operate and everybody's still at home? And one of the, you know, the big X's was we couldn't do that. And so, you know, there's a lot of good programs and technology out there. You don't have to innovate it. It's out there. You just have to be able to be open to research it and pursue it. But in the past year, just us going cloud-based, you know, during a second and other waves, you know, there's confidence there in myself that we will operate at 100% capacity, and our employees will be safe on the sites. Just from working here in my basement, or you know, my other office employees working from home, and we can still get the information. We can still get the information to our clients, to our employees, so that they can operate daily. So I know it's kind of a long explanation of that one, but technology, I think, is the one trend. And you know, you can swing a hammer, you can frame a house, but you know, you got to be able to get on that iPad or that smartphone, because a lot of your workflow might come from there.
Oh, for sure, John. And you know what, you're absolutely right. I think COVID has definitely impacted and influenced how we go forward. Do you see some of these technologies that have obviously been brought on because of COVID, as you mentioned, a lot of the lockdowns and everything else? Do you see them continuing on? Do you see them influencing as we go forward?
I think so. I mean, obviously the Zoom has had the biggest impact, I think, for everybody, even for us offering virtual consultations for in-home instead of the in-home. That never happened before, and the moment we offered it last spring, it was a game changer for us. We were able to successfully obtain a lot of projects through using that route. The cloud-based stuff has been around for a while. It's one of those things of, you know, it's a cost, and at some point as a business owner, you know, you got to look at that cost and you know, benefits and pros and cons with all of that. You know, but I think during the first wave, it was very evident that we needed it, and you know, the cost just kind of worked itself out in the end. But I think it's been great in the sense of that we can operate. Everybody can operate it from their own house, and the guys still get the crews still get their information on sites of what needs to be done that day. The clients still get their specs. They still can see the contracts. They can still see what's going on in their house and the schedule. So it's just it's an absolute great tool that probably wasn't around 15, 20 years ago. But I think every successful company, if they embrace it, they'll be successful.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you very much, John. Thanks for sharing that. Dave, I know that, you know what, definitely, I'm sure that through the years, you know what, I'm up there with you. You know, I know that we've definitely seen quite a bit of coming, you know, trends that have come and gone and continue to move as we go forward. As you know, I know the term of modernization when we look at skilled trades and look at apprenticeship areas. And again, with your wealth of knowledge that you also bring from CAF, or the, you know, Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, what are your thoughts and what do you see as coming trends?
Well, I will start off with the safety as well, because it is always the number one thing. And I think we can definitely say that there has been a drastic improvement to our safety over the years. The number of incidents has definitely dropped. And with our, you know, journey to zero meaning we'll have no incidents. It's a big target, but we're still going to keep shooting towards that. The digitalization, you know, we've been talking about that for a few years. and it's definitely helped improve our processes. And there's continually new things being brought in that do that. And in order to support that, your engineering has to be up on those trends. Your technologists, your technicians, your tradespeople that now have to go in and troubleshoot and maintain that equipment. They have to get very familiar with, what does a breakdown of this nature look like? What does it result in? What do I have to do to fix it? A breakdown of that nature. Everything is up for grabs. It's all new stuff. So there's a lot of new things to learn about that. Something that's new, relatively new in the steel industry, is talking about becoming carbon neutral. I can't even begin to imagine what that technology is going to look like that helps us to make steel in a greener way. To me, that sounds like a lot of new equipment coming in, a lot of new devices that help that equipment run. It's endless, the amount of learning that our current tradespeople and the tradespeople of the future coming in have to adapt to.
Perfect. Dave, I really like the journey to zero. Is that copyrighted through ArcelorMittal Dofasco?
We own that.
Oh, do you?
Globally.
Oh,
We own it
shucks.
globally.
I tell you, I'd be getting some bonus points if I were to bring that up to Rob Ellis. I tell you, journey to zero, that is excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that, Dave. That's excellent. And what about you, Daniel? What are your thoughts in regards to upcoming trends, especially coming in the plumbing sector?
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of new technology coming out. We talk about different companies having different rules, but not chasing technology is really important. Tech comes and goes, so you want to be aware of it, but you want to make sure that it's going to be the right fit long term. The other thing that we find is going with reputable brands and companies to take on that tech. We look at some of these new apps that are coming out, and you want to make sure that there's support behind those apps, especially if you're going to, it's going to become a reliant factor for your business to run on. There's a lot of fantastic things coming out. But in terms of trends, we're seeing that a lot more people are getting into the trade, which is awesome for us. A lot more opportunity for skilled trades coming through. And I think there's a lot of like good ideas coming up. Just because you've been doing it for 20 years doesn't mean you've been doing it right or the best. And I think a lot more people that we're seeing is the trend is that people are speaking up. People are a lot less. I mean, I used to be terrified to talk to my foreman or my journeyman at the time. They're not the same. I think we're breeding better people now. Not saying that we weren't great, but I think it's awesome that people feel confident and comfortable kind of speaking their mind and speaking up with respect, of course. But yeah, that's definitely a big trend for us.
No, well, that's great to hear, Daniel. I think you're absolutely. I think that when we look at equity, diversity, and inclusion these days, that you really nailed that. Where I think that we are creating and have been. I know, sure, we could talk about past practices. I think we've definitely try to have a lot more better welcoming environment for all of us. No, it's great to hear that we definitely have those ability for lateral and effective dialogue when we're talking with our mentors and working with our journey persons. And so and I like the idea of not really just chasing technology, but making sure you got the right technology that's going to be with you, it's going to support you as you go through. So no, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing, Daniel. So next question is, when in regards to these futures, these students that are going to be coming out and working out in the field, what resources should new graduates use to find work in the field? So again, we're talking about people and places, who to turn to, things like that. What are your thoughts on that? Let's start with John. What do you think, John?
That's a good question. I think really any opportunities that your college presents to you as a student, especially with regards to meeting industry leaders, people in the trades, is important to take advantage of it. If it's something small you get out of it, that little bit of knowledge you get might build into something more powerful down the road. So taking those opportunities and just trying to absorb as much as you can. For us, and I'll speak for myself, anything that really gets you experience, whether it's a co-op placement or just a job that out of school, and you have to just push through it for a year or two. Obviously, making sure it is in the trade you want to be in, but anything that just gets you that experience. I find just in where when I see applicants coming in, the value in your services is really, your attitude and your professionalism, but also just the experience you can bring in. And the reason that is important is just the trades are, I find that there isn't, the trades are, we're always looking for somebody, whatever sector you're in. I know we're always looking for somebody as well. And if you can come in and just present yourself with a lot and then have that experience base, I think it just makes you a lot more valuable to any prospect employer or the employer that you're working for at the time.
Oh, that's great, John. Yeah, and that kind of, I always think of one of my favorite quotes there from Albert Einstein when he talks about experience is the greatest knowledge, right? And I think that's, so that really aligns quite well. So John, thank you very much for sharing that. Dave, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think there are a lot of avenues open these days. The internet obviously is one of the biggest ones, and it gives you the ability to look a little farther than just what's around the block that you live on, especially if you're trying to find a unique or a specific future for yourself. When you talk about trades, we've got 14 different trades that we run at DeFasco typically. We don't all have apprentices in each one of them right now, but over time we will circle back to the ones that we don't. And so if you're looking for something like that, you can look locally and you'll find lots of work around our region. In fact, we love it when the people from our region are able to come and work in our facility, because it's, this is Hamilton. This is the central place for us for ArcelorMittal DeFasco. Hamilton's a great place to live. And having said that, we have a website that people can go to and they can look up what are the current job opportunities. So as they change weekly, they are updated to say, here's what the jobs are this week. Here's what the jobs will be next week, and so on and so forth. When you put your resume out in a bunch of different places and then you finally get that interview, make sure that before you go in for that interview, that you do some research on the place that you're sitting down with, because most of them have websites. They've got some information there that'll tell you a little bit about their history, about what they're like as a company, what their beliefs are. All that stuff is available. So go learn a little bit before you go into that interview, and then you'll have some information in your pocket to talk about while you're there. You do have the apprenticeship, apprenticesearch.com. There's LinkedIn. You could go for a walk up and down Industrial Drive or Burlington Street, but I don't think they're as open as they used to be. They want you to apply on the web. Our company's the same. We don't want you knocking on the front door. Go on the web. And a big hint, I tested it this morning just to make sure what the most current thing was. But if you type DeFasco-careers into Google, the second link is the right link that'll give you all those jobs that are on our net. And don't leave this web because you want to go look at that link now. Wait till after you're done.
Fantastic, Dave. Well, thank you very much. And there's also, Dave is also a part of the Hamilton Skilled Trades Apprenticeship Consortium, or what we refer to as HSTAC, where we do come together, where we definitely have probably over 40 different industrial, commercial members that are from all different sectors that sit on this panel, that we all are desperately always looking for new apprentices, new people to be joining the team. So there's another avenue as well. Thanks for sharing that, Dave. That's fantastic. Daniel, what are your thoughts in regards to what new graduates, kind of what resources they should be looking for to get them ready for your field of work?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand a bit about the companies, know what you're getting yourself into. Our profession just ranges so drastically from, you could be a residential service plumber to, I worked on Iverwin Stadium as a mechanical installer plumber from Matina Mechanical. So I think, the varieties there, and you kind of got to, I think it's just as important for you to vet the business as it is for them to vet you. And understand kind of what the expectations are. From an employer standpoint, it's very expensive and risky to take on new staff. So, making sure that it's, at least aligned with what you're thinking of for the right fit, I think is always a benefit. Go on Google, look at their reviews, go on their Instagram, see what kind of work they do. There's so many different tools. Is it a forward-thinking company, or is it a little bit left in the past? Are you going to be calling a guy's dad and his brother to try to get a job, or are you going to go to a big organization where you might have to join a union to get involved? But there's so much online, and we always say, what is your biggest challenge, and how much time are you spending on it? So, for us, employment is very challenging right now, trying to find great guys. We spend a lot of time on it, and we're very successful at it. So, you kind of roles reversed. You really want a job, how many hours a day are you spending on it? How many different avenues, whether it's Indeed or Kijiji. Facebook now has job postings. LinkedIn is a great tool. But yeah, we post on all those platforms, and we find some great staff that way. And it's having an interview process is, we find in the trades a little bit behind. Everybody's a little bit behind, but we do a 3-part interview process because we want them to understand what we do just as much as them for us. And it's been very beneficial.
Oh, that's fantastic. I like the idea you stress on the fact that it's the candidates and those that are going out there need to really invest that same amount of time, when they're part of that vetting process, right? So you're looking to make sure you've got the right fit. They want to make sure that your companies and everyone else is the right fit as well. And I think it really, and again, I think that we've kind of touched on the piece there where through technology, through the web, we're able to get that. So make sure that they're able to navigate through, give a good look. The resources are there. Thanks for sharing that. That's excellent, Daniel. What are your thoughts, Luke?
Yeah, as they all mentioned, there's a million places to find a job these days. I think one of the key ones is nights like Meet the Grad, where you can go and meet the employer face to face. It's not just a resume coming in through one of the many avenues. You can meet them, shake their hand, say hi, and get a feel of who they are and who we are as the employer. Our last two hires have come through Meet the Grad night, so that was great. But yeah, we look at other places like Indeed, the Mohawk community job postings place that we throw up applications there all the time as well. So yeah, I'd say get out and get to Meet the Grad nights more often wherever possible.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you. Excellent. And again, nice plug there for Meet the Grad as well. That's fantastic, Luke. And again, we also have other opportunities as well, and our new apprenticeship hub, community hub that we have here at Mohawk Colleges, again, is an excellent wealth of resources there for anyone who's looking at opportunities that looking into skilled trades and apprenticeship. So I'd also encourage some of you that are listening today and viewing to take that opportunity as well. That's excellent. Thank you very much, Luke. So for the last question that I have for our panel today, what is one piece of advice or knowledge you wish you had known when you are starting your career? So let's start with you, Dave.
That's a tough one because I guess it took me a while to realize that what I started off in was actually just a job. And it only became a career once I grabbed onto it and started trying to get everything I could get out of it and trying to be the best apprentice that I could be, trying to be the best tradesperson that I could be. And a lot of that came with a lot of development opportunities, development activities. Opportunities will be thrown at you at work, and you have the option of saying yes or no. And you could, put some stuff to the side. Wherever you can, say yes and take on that opportunity, because it's always something that's worthwhile doing. As an apprentice, I had a chance to start working with wasn't really a new technology. It was a process for welding rails together. I was only probably a year and a half apprentice at the time, but because it was this process and it was something new and different, and you couldn't put the weld thing in your hand, you couldn't weld it together that way. This is different, so it was odd. So it was hard to get people involved. And myself, I thought, I'm going to dive into this thing, and it turned out very good. It was a lot of good experience. I did a lot of the rail welding throughout the company for a few years, and others, jumped on as well. And we had quite a team of people that were able to do this. But if you say no to that, you miss an opportunity, and you don't get the chance to learn something. And now there's a totally different process out there. And there's people that when this new process came in, it was a new technology. The people that wanted to jumped in and grabbed it by the horns, and they figured that out, and they got to be the experts in that piece of equipment. And this cycle will just keep going. There'll be what's the next new thing, and who's going to be the one that takes it and learns it and then teaches it to the others around them.
Well, that's perfect, Dave. And you know what? And you really hit the one piece that I really like to see today. And again, to the rest of our panelists as well, I'm also a Red Seal journey person as well. Always been very proud of that. And one of the things that, Dave, you really touched on is that career piece, right? And I think that as we all go forward and become journey persons, and those of us in the skilled trades, we've really taken this to an excellent, and as a profession and as a career. So I really, great to see that. And you know what? And that's that piece where getting everybody to really jump in with both feet, right? And you know what? Ask those questions, get engaged, get involved. That's fantastic, Dave. Thanks for sharing that. Daniel, what are your thoughts? What would you like to pass on as advice or knowledge to these folks?
Yeah, I think just that there's a lot more jobs out there than just meets the eye in terms of, just being a plumber or just being a carpenter, a gas fitter, or mechanic. There's sales, marketing, education. There's so many jobs within the industry. I tell all my guys, think about the apprenticeship program as, your undergrad in university that you get paid for, and you get a bunch of bonuses when you leave. But yeah, I think it still blows my mind how many jobs there are. And where they started, just like you said, you being a Red Seal trade, it's just the beginning. It doesn't mean you need to open a business, but there's tons of opportunity. And we see a lot of, some of the guys that we deal with that we like dealing with the most are usually have, the technical background, which is just a huge bonus. And being around a bunch of Red Seal tradesmen, whether it's buying a house, renovating a house, having buddies in the industry, it's a great place to be. It's a big community. We love how close knit the community is, we find. And then you're building your future, but you're also building where you live, and being involved in your community through what you do for work is very rewarding, which I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know a plumber would be sitting on an alumni panel. We've done some work with Mass University, which I wasn't even able to get into. So it's a really cool place to be. And the industry is just, filled with highly educated people. So just a piece of advice is that, it's not a second choice going into the, whether it's university or college. It's not a second choice to be in the trades. It's for me, I'm very fortunate that it was my first.
Oh, that's fantastic, Daniel. That's a great piece there too, as well as not making it having to be a default, but actually being a first choice as we go forward, with also opportunities, as you had mentioned, as we continue to move through, where you don't have to stop where you're at. That kind of also ties into Mohawk's opportunity as well, as we're looking at our new Bachelor of Business Administration Trades Management degree that Mohawk is working on, which again provides further opportunities for folks who, once they've completed their skilled trades training, can continue to move on into degree opportunities, into management, entrepreneurship, all of that. So perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. What about you, Luke? What one piece of advice or knowledge would you that you wish you had known before you started your career that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think construction can be much more frustrating than the TV shows highlight. But to the positive side is, you go home and you're sore and you're beat up and you had a bad day because nothing you were working on finished, nothing you were working on went right. But you go back, you hit your head against the wall again the next day and do it. And eventually what you're working on is gonna turn out right, and it's gonna look great. And that sense of reward washes away all your frustrations. And that's the highlight to me, is just, you got to be able to stick with it, and you're going to have bad days and you're going to have tough days, but the good days are worth it.
Oh, perfect. Luke, well, thanks for sharing that with us. Absolutely. I think that we've all, gone through some challenges and that, but that one piece that you talked about, just it's rewarding So stick with it, right? And continue to persevere because it is a very rewarding career to be choosing. And thanks for sharing that, Luke. John, I'm going to finish with you. What are your thoughts?
Just, I guess, sharing something on the personal side of my end. I think if I had the kind of the understanding of trade schools back, I guess when I was in the high school, was in the 90s, and the way and I don't know if it's still set up the same way, the way the curriculums were set up back then, where, you know, you were kind of geared towards going to university at the time. Even just within my family dynamics with my parents and my grandparents, you know, the measure of success at that time was going to university. And, you know, there was an accomplishment when I was able to go to university. I remember the day I got my certificate, my piece of paper, and I walked out of the building with my certificate, and I was like, now what? I went back to my part-time job for 6 months because there was no now what. But I was fortunate enough just through careers during my time in public and private sectors, was to work for another college in the area for a couple of years. And while I was in there, I spent, you know, just wandering through the halls and seeing the trade schools and what students now are learning in trades or in any part of the college system. And I wish I had that knowledge back then when I was kind of in high school, because I think I would have taken a different career path. You know, it's not a complete waste on my end. I was, like I said, I was able to kind of merge my business knowledge and my love for trades. But I kind of wish on a personal end, I was introduced to that earlier on in my career, because I think I would have taken that path a lot more. So I guess if I were to share anything, is don't dismiss the trade schools, don't dismiss colleges. I think there's a lot of great stuff there, and there's a lot of demand for students and for students coming out of those schools.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well said, John. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Well, at this time, I'd like to offer a big thank you to all of our panelists for taking the time today to share your experiences with our students.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.